Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's Facebook Live. Ask the Expert. I'm here today, Dr. Charlotte Norton from the medical perspective, and with me we've got Leslie, who is our dietitian, and Andrea, who is our mindset coach. So together we are going to be answering some of the questions you've been sending in. But do feel free, if there's any questions that come up as we're talking, please do put it in the chat or comments below, and we'll attempt to answer them as well. So to kick us off, the first question comes from Sophie in Middlesbrough. The question is for you, Leslie. The question is, I found that I'm really hungry around 4 p.m. Because I work from home, I'm struggling not to snack at that time. What can I do to keep full and stop snacking between my lunch and then my dinner at 7?
Yeah, so that's a really common question that I'm getting asked all the time here at the Slimming Clinic, because what has changed is lots of us are still working from home. So because we're working from home, lots of us are not getting the lunch break, the time to eat. So we're finding lots of people are finding that real 4 o'clock struggle. I often call that a mindless munch. So you're not maybe too sure if you're hungry, you want to do something, and I've found it myself, like opening the fridge and looking for answers. And well, the answers aren't in there. But anyway, so I think firstly, what I would always do is I'd take a step back. I'd start to look firstly at breakfast and lunch, because one, are we skipping meals? Because that will have a massive effect on the need to snack later as well. So are we having a breakfast? Are we having a lunch? And it could be that 4 o'clock, your blood sugars are dipping, we've not eaten enough fibre or protein at either of those meals, so therefore the blood sugar levels are dropping, and because you're still having to concentrate, you still maybe got another couple of hours of work, your brain's needing glucose, so you are looking for something sweet. So what I would do is because lots of people can say, oh, I hardly eat anything at breakfast, I hardly eat anything at lunch, but I find from 4 o'clock onwards, I'm absolutely starving. So I always take a step back, because lunch and breakfast are really important, because you want to have your energy ready for you through the day, so that your brain's got fuel to work on. So definitely making sure that we are having a breakfast, that we are having a lunch, that both of these meals have protein and fibre in them, because again, protein, fibre give you that lovely feeling of satiety, so you feel fuller. You're not actually physically hungry. So again, that could be a 4 o'clock emotional hunger that she's getting. And so what I would do is, so for examples for breakfast, you could have things like oats and yogurt. So you get your protein from the yogurt and the fibre from the oats with some berries. You could have something like a whole grain cereal, like Shreddies or Bran Flakes or Weetabix, again with some yogurt or milk. You could have scrambled egg and toast for breakfast, again, protein in the eggs and fibre in the wholemeal toast, or having an omelette that has spinach and mushrooms and tomatoes and some chicken in it. And then if you're looking at lunch, you want to make sure you have something like lentil soup, 3-bean soup, which was one of my favourites, pita breads, wraps with chicken and salad, or maybe something like a wholemeal bagel with some like smoked salmon or cream cheese on top of it, or even something as simple as beans and toast. So I think definitely pay attention to what you're eating at those other meals. And because lots of us are working through our lunch breaks, I'm getting some people to ask their company to dedicate a no-call time between maybe 12:30 and 1 o'clock, so people get time to either go for a walk or have time to eat. But try to eat away from the laptop. Give yourself 10 minutes to slow down, chew, visualize what you're eating, so that you're getting all these cues that you are full from your meals, that it's not rushed. But if you still feel 4 o'clock, now definitely just snack at 4. Having something like, again, a protein plus a wee bit of fibre at the snack. So maybe something like a Baby Bell with an apple, or something like a couple of oat cakes with spread and cheese, or maybe, again, some berries and natural yogurt. So if you do feel you have a snack, make the snack count, and don't make it a mindless munch. So make it something that's going to really count. So hopefully that helps.
Yeah, well, I think it's a fantastic answer, Leslie. I know myself that can be a hunger time, so I'll take advice from yourself there, and I think that's fantastic. And we asked everybody that wrote a question in if they had a favourite tip they'd like to share with everybody watching. And so Sophie's tip, which I think you'll like, Leslie, is to use a smaller plate and bowl so that you don't overload your plate, and that'll help you to reduce your portion size. So that's Sophie's tip. For weight loss. So the second question is for me. It's from Saya from London. She asks, how can I lose weight? Is there a best way? Now, what a tough question to answer. I could give a very, very long answer to this. I think the important things, Saya, is that number one, there is no one perfect way to lose weight. Every single person is individual. Everybody needs a different way to do it. Everybody finds a different way they like to do it. So I think the first thing when you want to approach losing weight is work out what works for you. If you're somebody that very much enjoys eating wholesome meals, then you're not going to go on a shake or soup plan because that's not going to work for you. If you're somebody who doesn't particularly like movement, doesn't want to do a lot of exercise, then you know that your diet is going to have to do a big share of the work. You're going to have to make sure that you get your calorie deficit from what you're eating as opposed to from exercise. So there is different options for everybody. From the years I've been at the Slimming Clinic, patients have success trying lots of different ways to achieve their weight loss. So I'd start off, number one, exploring, what do I enjoy? What would I like within my plan? I think that the second way is, where do I need help? What don't I know how to do well? Do I not know how to have a healthy eating plan? Do I need help with that? Am I unsure how I should even just get started? Do I need some help with my mindset? I've never been one for exercise. I don't know how to do that. So pick the areas where you think you would like some support. And then together with what you'd like to do, the areas where you need support, you can then start to build a way to lose weight. I wish there was, a magic answer. I could say to you, follow this plan. And the reason that, the market's flooded with lots of different diet plans, different diet guides, different ways different people have done it is because it's an individual experience. And trial and error. Try something. If it doesn't work for you, try something else. It doesn't mean you won't achieve your weight loss. You absolutely will. You've just got to find the way that it works best for you. So I hope that helps. Obviously, get in touch and we can talk a bit more specifically at the Slimming Clinic with you about how the best way for you to lose weight, but I hope that's a good tip. Okay, moving on to question 3. This one comes from Amy in Cheshire, and this is for Andrea, a mindset question. She says, I'm really struggling mentally to stay on track at the weekends. I eat well and exercise all week, and then at the weekends, I seem to lose all my willpower. What can I do to stop sabotaging myself?
So it's very much about not pushing yourself too hard in the week, and don't separate the week from the weekend. How are you also seeing the weekend? A little bit like you said, Charlotte, it's very much on an individual basis. So how are we seeing the weekend? Is it that time that we've pushed ourselves so much in the week that we come to the weekend and we're like, oh my goodness, yeah, just everything, forget everything. Diet plan, exercise, everything comes off and we just kind of flop. But trouble is, we're undoing all the good work. So if we're seeing the weekend as a time to stop, relax and have fun, and the week is hard pressure, then we're getting into bad habits and one that isn't going to work for weight loss. We need to have a little bit of something that's more maintainable and mixing kind of the week activities and the weekend activities together. So we're kind of having an overall healthy plan, if that makes sense. So yeah, if we're working hard during the week, allow yourself to have a few more breaks than maybe you would have done if you are pushing yourself. So it's really kind of trying to notice if you are pushing yourself a little bit too much. If we see the weekend is our time to stop and relax, why does that need to include eating poorly? So we could be relaxing by having a warm bath, a massage, or an occasional drink, but we don't need to sabotage if we don't over restrict and push ourselves to the extreme during the week. So very much is about balance and kind of mixing the weekend and the week together, because that's really how the mind will see it. We want to kind of look at the whole overall plan that we're doing something moving forward, because we just don't want to push our willpower too much.
Yeah, and I think probably there's something there, isn't there, about not telling yourself off or feeling down on yourself if you do have a bad day on the weekend. You know, you can pick yourself back up and carry on. It's not, you know, one bad day won't stop you from having your success, will it?
100%. That's another thing. There's so much that's really involved with the mind and the mindset of eating and emotional eating, that we do tend to have that. If we have kind of a bad weekend, sometimes we tend to give up and we think, oh, forget it, you know, I just feel guilty, and you know, you get all the negative feelings coming in. So it's really important that this is going to be normal. We're going to have relapses every so often, or we're just going to have that time that we've just like, oh, I've eaten what I shouldn't have eaten. I'm a vegetarian, but I did actually have a McDonald's yesterday. So it was one of those things, I felt okay about it, because it's just one of those things. And it was late, and I thought, actually, it's okay for me to do that. But then I just get back on track straight away the next day about sort of, I'll be having sort of kale and things like that today. It was just yeah, it's okay. So trying to sort of stay away from the guilt a little bit. But I have to say, it wasn't a burger, it wasn't meat or anything.
No, and as you said, none of us, never need to chastise ourselves for having having a cheap meal or having something a bit different. So it's nice.
And it doesn't happen at weekends. It did happen to be on a Sunday, but it's not the fact we really want to stay away from that habit. So staying away from the fact we do it on a certain day. Like Leslie was talking about, if we do things at a particular time, we get into a routine. So it was a very ad hoc thing. It wouldn't normally be that I'd have a takeaway on a certain night. It just happened that I haven't had a takeaway for such a long time, and it just happened to be a Sunday. It could have been a Tuesday. So again, mixing the week and the weekend up together.
Yeah, which is fantastic. Thank you, Andrea. Right, the next question, we're back to Leslie. This is Muhammad Ali, who sent us a question from Dubai. So that's fantastic. Her question is, I'm struggling to lose weight and keep craving sugar. What can I do to stop this?
Yeah, so I think it's probably good to look at that question, Mohammed, in two parts. So I'm going to look at first about the losing weight. So I think what we have to remember is losing weight is actually very difficult. You know, if it was easy, as you said, Charlotte, you know, I would be out of a job. You know, I've been a dietitian for 22 years now, and so it's not easy. And so I think first of all, it's looking at. I always get people to reassess their goals, because sometimes people set the goals far too high. So, you know, they're maybe in their 50s, they want to be the weight they were in their 20s. And again, you have to remember that your body changes kind of through life. And also, weight loss is the most successful the first time you ever do it. So if you've had a whole life of constantly losing weight, gaining weight, losing weight, gaining weight, what happens is when we do lose weight, we lose body fat and muscle, but what we ever regain is mostly body fat. So your body, although you may be the same weight, your metabolic rate will be lower than the time before you tried to diet. So I think that's what we have to look at first, is where are you setting your goals? What have you done to get to this point? And not to just, I can't lose weight, or I'm not losing weight, but just to, give yourself a little bit of kindness on what you're trying to do this time as well. So what I would definitely do is look at what your target is first. When we look at it from the sugar craving point of view, what I would say is, again, all the advice, Mohammed, that I said at the first part of this. So again, about the regular eating, because sugar cravings happen for a variety of reasons. They can happen because, again, of that dip in blood sugars. So again, that you're really good all day, you eat very little, you have, a cracker for breakfast, a cup of soup for lunch, and then you have sugar cravings all evening. I think what we have to remember is our biology, your brain and your spinal cord constantly need a steady stream of glucose. And if they're not getting it, what will happen? You get this overriding feeling of, I need sugar, because I've never known anybody to crave carrots out with a pregnancy. So your body wants to crave something that is going to give you quick energy. The other thing to look at it, which Andrea probably could advise as well, is about that there could be an emotional part to this. So there could be that in the past, because as babies we're given, milk to soothe ourselves, you're giving us a lollipop when I was younger when you went to the dentist. So you were given a sweet thing to help soothe. So it's looking at, is this sugar craving because your blood sugar is dipped? Is it because there is an emotional part to it as well? The other thing to look at is hydration, because your body will trick you. So if you think that you need something sweet, quite often it could be that you're actually thirsty. So again, my first cue would be have a large glass of water, try to distract yourself for 10 minutes and see, is it still there? Or is it just a feeling? Because quite often you can get unconscious crave, and before you know it, you've eaten the biscuit. But or can you catch yourself and bring your conscious brain into, well, that's not actually what I'm feeling. I'm not feeling hunger. I'm actually feeling happiness, sadness, or dehydration as well. And or if you feel like, I think sometimes we often have a banned list, as in we have too many things that are banned that we can't eat. So we're not eating chocolate, we're not eating crisps, we're not eating sweeties. There's too many things that are banned. But in actual fact, if you allowed yourself a small amount and really savoured it and tasted it and enjoyed it, would that ease the craving, rather than this, I can't have, and then I've overeaten kind of feeling that you're having? So I'd plan the snack, I'd plan, first of all, I'd look at why is the craving happening, or if you want to have something sweet, plan it and eat it very slowly, enjoy every mouthful of it, and you'll get much more from it than just inhaling it like it's a dirty secret in a cupboard, as we all have done. So hopefully, Mohammed, that maybe answers some of the questions, but maybe what I said earlier on might help as well.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Thank you, Leslie. And often when we've been somebody that's eaten a lot of sugar, when we first stop, and as you say, create this huge banned list of all of the sugary things that we normally eat, it can actually physically make us feel a little bit unwell for a short time, can't it? So would you advise, if somebody's going to give up sugar, would you suggest more of a gradual sort of reduction?
Absolutely. So it's looking at the volume. So it's because just now it's a so I've been a dietitian for a long time, so fat was bad, carbs were bad, sugar's bad. So it's a bit like, so it's why is that? I always, like with Andrea would support this, was like, why is that happening? Is it because you have had so much? You've had full sugar juice, you've had a bar of chocolate, 2 or 3 bars of chocolate every day. There's been quite a high sugar content. So again, so your body's been working on a high amount of sugar in your blood. So it's going a bit cold turkey. So you're gradually reducing it, rather than a complete ban list might be a way to do it if the diet was quite high in sugar to begin with.
Thank you, Leslie. I reckon that would be really helpful. I reckon lots of people I know from our experience with the patients, sugar and cutting it down and sugar cravings are definitely something people battle with. So thank you. That's really helpful. Right, the next question is from me. It's from Molly from Hull, and it's more about our medication. It asks, is it true you're supposed to have a break when you're taking Fentanyl, as it seems to lose its effect within a couple of weeks? So there's sort of 2 parts to this question, Molly, that I'm going to answer. So number one, it seems to lose its effect after a couple of weeks. So we do hear this from patients. And I think one of the things about the Fentanyl medication is that when you first start it, you feel such a lot of side effects with it. It makes you feel more alert. It disrupts your sleep. It can make you feel a little bit more hotter and sweaty. And you feel lots of sensations in your body when you first start it. And as your body gets used to those sensations and they settle down, sometimes people can misconstrue that means it's not working as well. But the appetite suppressing element is the key element that we prescribe this medication for. So what we want as clinicians with this medication is for you to tell us that I feel in control of my appetite, I'm managing to eat a healthy, balanced diet, I'm sticking to my plan, and also as a consequence, hopefully, you are starting to lose your weight. So that's our motivation for prescribing any of our weight loss medications. So So when we talk about them not working, that's the key element that your doctor will explore with you. Well, are you actually still managing to control what you're eating? If you're not, then that's absolutely fine. If you are finding that hunger is creeping back in at high levels, you're not in control, then we can talk to you about either switching the formulation of the drug. So switching with Fentanyl, we have another tablet type called diethylpropion. We have different strengths, and we have our other injectable medication, Saxenda. So we've lots of different ways to help you if the appetite control part of the medication seems to be affected. So we can help you with that. The second part of your question about should you take a break? Yes, as part of taking the tablet medication, so the diethylpropion medication, we do put a 2-week treatment break in at some stage. That's generally somewhere around the 12-week mark, but depending on your progress, depending on how you're doing with the medication, your doctor may choose to push that back a little bit later on. So it's very individualized when you take a treatment break. And that's for 2 reasons. So number one, these types of medications are only prescribed for short-term use. So they're supposed to be used in these little bursts of sort of 12 to 16-week treatments. And what we know is that when patients are treated in this way, we see more superior weight loss than if they continued on the drug continuously for the entire time. So if your doctor does talk to you about needing to take a treatment break from the fentanyl medication or the diethylpropion medication, that may come up in the course of your treatment. However, that's not to mean that that's it. You give up in those 2 weeks that you're off the medication, you don't stick to your healthy eating plan. You would absolutely continue. For those of you taking our treatment programs that have the supplements, including one of our supplements, GZ12, which is a fibrous filling agent, you can absolutely use that to help support you during that time. So and we have other medications as well. We have our injectable weight loss medication that you could consider switching to, and we have Xenical, a fat blocking medication as well. So just because you may get to that point where you need to take a treatment break from the fentanyl appetite suppressing medication, it doesn't mean that your treatment has to stop. It doesn't mean that we can't support you with other medication. It's just part of the course of us getting the best out of the medication for you and getting you towards that treatment goal. So I hope that answers your questions about the medication. And Molly did send us a tip, so I shall share Molly's tip. And Phil, our exercise movement coach, will be pleased with this one. She says, move more, even if it is just simply walking, which I think is a fantastic tip, because you're completely right, Molly. Just by simply increasing the amount of energy you burn each day, moving more, as you say, simply, it doesn't have to be anything other than just walking a little bit further than you do each day. It can really make a difference. So it's a great tip. Thank you for sharing. Right, next question takes us back to Andrea. So another mindset question. This is from Emily from Brighton. And she says, I've put on quite a lot of weight in lockdown, which I know is something we're hearing from a lot of our patients. And I'm worried that I'm going to have to see more of my friends and family now that obviously lockdown is slowly starting to decrease, and I'm embarrassed to face them. What can I do to feel better?
Hi, Emily. Yeah, another really good question, actually, because the key words here are, well, the key word is acceptance. If we can't accept ourselves, how can we expect others to accept us? It's been brilliant, actually, brilliant timing as well, because I don't know if you guys have actually seen what was in the paper recently or in the news with Will Smith. It's a really good timing, have you? So we've actually seen the visual posts of Will Smith embracing the fact that he put on weight during lockdown whilst posing in what looks like just his underpants. He admits to being in the worst shape of his life, but actually vows to ditch what he calls the dad bod. And what we find really interesting here is the fact that the reports are not criticising his weight gain, but rather he's been so applauded by adoring fans over the extreme honesty of his posts. It's basically, this is me. And what we have here is ownership. He owns who he is right now. And once we own who we are, it's very difficult for others to criticise. And what we forget is, yes, we may have put weight on during lockdown, but if we put the weight on, then we can certainly get the weight back off again. So instead of worrying about facing others, we can also use this as a before and after, a little bit like Will probably is going to do. This is me now, and this is going to be me afterwards. So we can, just having that in our mind can really sort of change our mindset to one that is less worrying and more positive, to think, yeah, this is me. Look at what I'm like, but I will be changing this. This is what I'm going to be doing to achieve it. So It's really sort of looking at achievements rather than I'm scared, I don't want to go out, I want to hide away. So don't forget, it's this is me, but it's not all of me. When we have insecurity about our weight, we tend to focus on purely our weight, forgetting that there is so much more to who we are. So it's really important to begin focusing on who we are as a person and not just one aspect, because that one aspect does not define us. We're a lot more involved in that. We have so much more. A lot of people just love us for, our personality, our humor, everything else. It's just we're the ones that tend to pinpoint on the fact that we've gained weight. And again, it's going to be a lot more noticeable to us because we see ourselves every day. Other people don't see that. So, and it's very much a general thing. Look at Will Smith. A lot of people have put on. It's not just us. It's not just you. In this world, it's lots of people have put on weight in lockdown for various different reasons. So just try and be a little bit kinder to yourself. But brilliant question, and hopefully it's kind of building on that self-acceptance. There's all of us that are kind of in it together.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you said, that post from Wills couldn't have come at a better time to support your answer to that one. So thank you. Thank you, Andrea. Leslie, we're back to you now from a question. Hannah from Dorset. She's asked, I found my IBS symptoms to be flaring up during lockdown. The main thing I suffer from are bloating, fatigue and heartburn, sort of acid reflux. I've tried elimination diets before, but it hasn't. There doesn't seem to be any clear food triggers. What would you suggest she did next?
Yeah. So I'm seeing an awful lot of IBS symptoms returning through lockdown or developing through lockdown or getting much worse through lockdown. So what I would definitely say is you wouldn't want her to eliminate any further. So if she's tried eliminations and they really haven't worked, what we have to look at is what is the root cause for this. So IBS is a functional gut issue, so it's multifactorial. So it depends on sometimes what you're eating, sometimes how you're eating. It also looks potentially to do with your mood as well, so what you're feeling, and also to do with if you've been on quite a lot of eliminations, taking out some of the foods that support your gut microbiome can then cause your IBS to get worse, because your gut microbiome is a whole colony of bacteria that are fed by different fibres. So if you've been going gluten-free, if you've been taking out resistant starches in your diet, if you've been going low FODMAP. So again, I'm not a fan of, the good thing is she's tried it, it's not worked. Hopefully she's gone back to what she's doing. The key things, Hannah, what I picked up is that we've got real symptoms, but I'm not convinced that it's maybe it's all to do with food. So what I would urge, first of all, is if there's any change, you have to go back to your GP. So if things are getting worse, you want to make sure that it's not something else. Although lots of people self-diagnose IBS, but there can be lots of other conditions that overlap and have similar symptoms. If anything is changing or if anything's getting worse, it's definitely due to go back and speak to your GP just to make sure that all the right tests have been done to rule out anything else. But if that's okay, what I would look at is the best thing to do is to keep a mood, food and symptom diary. So that way you can look at what you're feeling, what you're eating and what your symptoms are like, and then begin to see if there's a bit of a pattern. What I would say is with IBS, we have a hypersensitive gut. So there's much more connection between your brain and your gut. So we do know there's the gut-brain axis. So what you feel will be felt in your gut. So again, if you get excited, you get butterflies. If you get nervous, you can get a bit of an upset tummy. So, there's a very, very strong connection. And we know with IBS, that's much stronger. There's much more nerves go to your digestive system, and you will pick up quicker if there's kind of any change in your digestive system. So if there's any extra bloating, you'll have if there's any extra wind, you will feel it more than somebody who doesn't have IBS. So rather than eliminating further, I'd get her to record, and I'd get you to start to use a mood, food and symptom diary. I can add the link underneath this chat so that I can tell you the one that I would normally use. So there's been a lot of clinical studies done at the Monash University, and they're looking at this app And what it is, it's a gut soothing mindfulness app. So if we're not getting the results through food and we don't think there's a clear trigger there, I would definitely start to look at trying to soothe your gut. You can try it free for 7 days. It's really, really good, and it can potentially help you relax, because there's been loads going on. So, whether Hannah has had issues with her job, or family issues, or we don't know what's happened in Hannah's lockdown, but I would definitely look at looking at her headspace. Maybe Andrea can maybe point some other things, but I'm getting lots of success with quite complicated IBS symptoms returning, and it appears to be definitely linked to our mental health as well. So I can put those links at the bottom of the chat, and maybe that can give Hannah a bit of help. But if anything's changed, my advice would be go back to the GP first.
Yeah, well, I think it would be great if you could share those links, Leslie, for both Hannah and anybody else listening. And I think you're completely right. Sometimes we forget that our gut is so affected by other areas in our body, and the last place sometimes people think is their mind space. Could that be a trigger? So yeah, I think that's fantastic. Thank you. And I hope, Hannah, that's giving you some ideas on where to go next. Just to echo Leslie's point, obviously, if things are changing with your gut, and you either haven't yet been to your doctor, or it's been a while since you have, it is always worth checking in as well, whilst you try to do the tips that Leslie said. So that's fantastic. And your tip, thank you, was drink plenty of water, which is a great tip. But not only can drinking plenty of water help be an appetite suppressant, if your stomach's full of water, you can feel less hungry. But we know that also our bodies are fueled by water. So much of what our body's tissues and organs are made up of is water. So when we're hydrated, our bodies work at their best, and when our bodies work at their best, we'll get our best weight loss results. So that's a brilliant tip. Thank you, Hannah. The next question is for me, and this one is asking about why our clinics have closed, and that this is Louise from Essex. She said, why has the clinics closed? I like to get weighed on a weekly basis, so how does this now work in your remote service? So it's a good question, and thank you for asking, Louise. So initially we closed our clinics as a response to the COVID pandemic, as many other businesses did, and we found a way to be able to service our patients during that time. Initially, we were only able to help our existing patients, so people who were currently having treatment with us, and now we've moved on to be able to help both new patients or patients who maybe have been to us years before and want to restart. So we're now able to greet and welcome any type of patient that wants our help. And as part of, obviously, patient feedback is very important to us. And throughout the, I say it's been over a year now, hasn't it, since last March? So throughout this time, we've listened to the feedback from our patients, and lots of patients have found the remote service actually far more convenient for them. Lots of our clinics were in city centres, so it helped avoid people having to travel to a site, park in a city car park, get into the clinic. It could take somewhere between sort of half an hour to an hour out of your day to attend an appointment, and now you're able to do it from the comfort of wherever you are, by phone or by video consultation. So people found that there was a lot of comfort there. Some people like the anonymity of not having to walk into a clinic that says the Slimming Clinic on the front door. They can have this appointment at home, wherever they are, and if they wish to not have people know that they're going along their weight loss journey, they've also found that positive. So by listening to our patients and also to our staff, our clinicians, we were still able to maintain a good relationship with our patients, and people still made fantastic weight loss progress. We made the decision to continue to treat patients remotely, which allows us to have a far greater spread and actually allows us to help more patients through the service. So in terms of the weigh-ins, so obviously there are different ways you can engage with us at the Slimming Clinic with regards to your weigh-ins. Depending on what treatment program you take, we have a pair of smart scales. So these are a pair of scales that you have at home. Keep them in your bathroom or wherever you choose to keep them on a nice flat surface. And when you weigh yourself through a smart app, your Slimming Clinic doctor is able to see your weight loss results. So you're still able to have that feeling of having that weigh-in, of still having somebody watching how your weight's progressing. So the clinicians can see both how your overall weight's decreasing. It also has some parameters on this, such as body fat and body water percentage, so we can help to see that you're losing the weight from the right place. As Leslie mentioned, when we're losing weight, we want to be losing our body fat and nothing else, so we can help to guide you there. So you can still have that check-in by using through the smart scales. If you don't the smart scales, you still have an appointment with your clinician on, somewhere from a weekly to 4 weekly basis, depending on your choice. And the doctor will ask you your weight at that time. So you still have to reveal your weight to your clinician. And as we all know, when we are, we get the most out of our time with the doctors and dietitians and movement coaches and mindset coaches when we're honest. So if things aren't going well and you have a weigh in that hasn't gone well, then by sharing that with the team, we can try and help you work out what went wrong and how to overcome it. So I hope that sort of answers your question. And I'd also like to thank you for your tip, because your tip is to the point what Leslie said earlier, actually, is when you feel hungry, find something to take your mind off of it. So absolutely, if you're not truly hungry, if it's a routine or a habit to have something to eat, as Leslie said, it's a great idea to distract yourself, and hopefully that hunger will subside. So thank you, Louise. Right, so we're going to go we've got a final question for Andrea. So this is from Carol, and her question is, how do I stop my urge for a hot chocolate in the mid-afternoon?
Okay, so what we're looking at here, again, sort of when we have urges, particularly times during the day, we know that we're then looking at habits that are formed. So we need to look at breaking those habits until the body and mind no longer has those urges and expectations. So it's really kind of looking at habits again. The body, the mind kind of realizes it's that time of day, a little bit like you were talking about sugar levels and everything like that earlier. We just have those habits, and everything kind of remembers or reminds ourselves, oh, it's that time of day again. We don't need a watch, but it's just our body, it's that body clock goes on. So we can do this, sort of breaking those habits in 2 different ways, really. So it depends on what type of person you are. Are you the type of person that can cut out something completely and not look back? Or do you need to take smaller steps because the urges are quite powerful and our willpower is not quite strong enough yet? So if you're the latter of the two, then we can implement some small steps to help. Temporary distraction, which we were just talking about there, really, it really helps, because it basically gets our mind and body away from it. We're doing something completely different. So it's the body is remembering that, oh, okay, it's that's sort of that time of day again, the cravings are coming in, our mind is totally distracted on something else. So it's the time that you'd normally be drinking your hot chocolate. So have a plan in mind and in place prior to the day, so you're all set up to go. So think about what you're going to do prior to have some things. So are you going to phone somebody, you're going to do something else, blah, blah, blah. So just have something that is not right at that moment. You've got an urge, because then you have to think about something as well. So have a plan. And this next part, we could do, you can ask Leslie for some advice on this. So it's about finding an alternative to the hot chocolate that's a lot healthier, but still a drink. Because again, it's that thing, is that a lot of the time people struggle with something completely different, a complete different type of distraction. So sometimes we still need that kind of little bit, as talking about the small steps, we still need that little bit of, I still want something, sort of drinking wise, and water maybe is not quite enough. So it's an alternative to the hot chocolate that's a lot healthier, but still a drink. For example, a healthy smoothie that I know sort of Leslie has come up with, who's sort of done so many different smoothies in the past. But it helps with the craving of something sweet. So again, we're sort of having something, but it's helping us. It's sort of making that small step, but something a lot better for us. And you could also start to cut back on the amount you drink instead. So instead of a whole cup, it could be half a cup for a few weeks, and then work from there. So we're looking then at the amount we drink. But as we can see, there are lots of alternatives, but it's choose something that works for you and create a plan prior to the time you get the urge. So we are really looking again at that individual basis that we're seeing so much at Slimming Clinic. So hopefully that helps a little bit, Carol. But it is very much about those habits that everybody sees and breaking them.
Yeah, absolutely. And you say where you can't, or where you want to keep the habit for whatever reason, it's making that healthy swap, isn't it? And working around, well, what could I switch that to?
And what works for you. It's always about finding something that works for you best. So it could be a smoothie, it could be a time change, it could be distraction, it could be busy, it could be loads of different things, but whatever feels good and right for you. It could be swapping things around as well and changing a few different things.
Yeah. Brilliant. Thank you, Andrea. That's fantastic. And then we just got the final question. This one's again for me. This is from Marion in Newcastle. And she says she's always used the Slimming Clinic and she's had some fantastic results from using our weight loss medication in the past, but she's recently been put on tablets for high blood pressure. Can she still have treatment? Because like one of our other question askers today, she's also gained weight over lockdown. So absolutely. So the answer is, Marion, of course, we can absolutely help you. And I say this to any patient that's maybe listening, or anybody today that thinks, well, would they be able to help me because I have this wrong with my health or that wrong? With our doctors have a variety of different medications that they can prescribe for you. So even if one particular medication wouldn't be suitable for you, the other ones usually are. They don't tend to overlap in the reasons that they're not suitable for treatment. With regards to blood pressure, if your blood pressure is controlled on the medication that you are taking, then there's absolutely no reason why you can't have and restart your treatment with your normal weight loss medication that you've had before. But I think the good thing that you've asked in this question is, if there is any changes in your health, please do let your doctor know. It doesn't mean that treatment has to stop. We might just have to make an alteration to your treatment, but it's certainly important for your health. Apologies. It's certainly important for your health that your doctor knows what treatment you're having, and then we can absolutely make sure that you're on the correct and safest medication for you. And Marion, your tip, which I shall read out, is, and we talked about this earlier, I always remind myself that one bad day doesn't spoil a week, and that one bad week doesn't spoil your diet, because you never fail until you stop trying, which I think is a lovely final tip for us as the final question. And we touched on that earlier, didn't we? So I'd really like to say thank you to Leslie and Andrea for their time today, and for some fantastic answers to the questions. I hope for everybody watching, that gives you some motivation, maybe helps you tackle some of the things that you're experiencing yourself. I can't see that we've had any questions on the day, so that's absolutely fine. But if you watch this later on and there is something you want to ask one of us, please do put your question out there and one of us will get back to you. And so just finally, so thank you very much, everybody, for your time today, and I hope that's been useful.